All right, so the New York Times wrote what was basically a hit piece against independent creators on Twitch, and this is just part of this ongoing campaign. I did a video that was a couple days ago about the YouTube CEO admitting that YouTube suppresses independent media at the behest of corporate media and bumps them up in the algorithm so that independent media channels are suppressed on YouTube, and corporate media not only gets a platform on TV, but gets to basically take over all of these other platforms that are supposed to be geared towards independent creators. So as part of this ongoing fight that the corporate media has launching against independent creators and independent media, this is all just part of that ongoing fight. Corporate media obviously has a slant against these other platforms because why? Because people like me who make videos, who make news content from an independent perspective that isn't wound up in the corporate side of this, we are their competition, and so they want to crush their competition and take over every single platform for themselves. And so this is part of this ongoing campaign. So this was an article that was written in the New York Times, and parts of the specifics within this article are just so revealing to how unserious the problem is that they're putting forward here, and how their response to this and the way that they frame it is just totally blown out of proportion. And you'll see with the actual data and the figures that they use. So here's what they say. Extremists find a financial lifeline on Twitch. QAnon adherents and other far-right influencers are making thousands of dollars broadcasting election and vaccine conspiracy theories on the streaming site. So let me say first off, I'm obviously a leftist, okay? I don't believe in the conspiracy theories that are being spread on Twitch by the people that they talk about in this. I totally disagree with everything, the false information that they're putting out there about the election, the false information that they're putting out there about the vaccines. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I think it's terrible. I don't think they're good people, okay? Let me just get that up front. But with that being said, let's go ahead and read about the scope of the problem that they're bringing up here. Okay, so here's what they had to say. Twitch became a multi-billion-dollar business thanks to video gamers broadcasting their plays of Fortnite and Call of Duty. Fans, many of whom are young men, pay the gamers by subscribing to their channels or donating money. Streamers can earn even more by sending their fans to outside sites to either buy merchandise or donate money. Correct. Now, Twitch has become a place where right-wing personalities spread election and vaccine conspiracy theories, often without playing any video games. It is part of a shift at the platform where streamers have branched out from video games into fitness, cooking, fishing, and other lifestyle topics in recent years. So yeah, that is true. Twitch has kind of had this transition more so recently where there are more political streamers, but this isn't something as they portray it in this piece that's only far-right conspiracy theorists or something. I mean, go look at people like Hassan, right? I mean, Hassan is on Twitch. He streams every day. He's a leftist content creator. He talks about things from a leftist perspective, and he's one of the biggest people on Twitch as a whole. So for them to just portray this as if it's only far-right people who are taking over the platform, it's just blatantly not true. Some of the biggest streamers on Twitch in the political sphere are leftists. But that's obviously not how they portray it. And honestly, the person who's writing this article in the New York Times in general, I don't think they would even bother to distinguish between somebody like Hassan and these far-right conspiracy theorists. They just want everybody who is an outside voice outside of the corporate narrative to be silenced. But they continue on here. Here's where it gets funny. Twitch monetizes the propaganda, which is unique. Let me read that again. Twitch monetizes the propaganda, which is unique. Unique to what? Are you trying to say that corporate media, like the New York Times, is not monetizing propaganda? That's literally your entire business model. The entire business model of corporate media, but even of the New York Times specifically, is making money off of the propaganda that they put out. Their propaganda just so happens to be corporate propaganda, just so happens to be propaganda on behalf of the military-industrial complex, just so happens to be propaganda on behalf of billionaires, just so happens to be propaganda of the status quo, of the establishment, of the intelligence communities. That's the type of propaganda that they're putting out and that they're monetizing. But when other people monetize things that they may disagree with, then that's somehow evil and unique to Twitch, separate from the corporate propaganda that they're monetizing. Okay, I think that's hilarious. Said Megan Squire, a computer science professor at Elon University who tracks extremists online. She said it was as though listeners of the conservative radio host Rush Limbaugh, who died in February, rotting in hell, were donating in real time and chipping in greater sums whenever Mr. Limbaugh shared more controversial ideas. So let's read that again. She said it was as though listeners of the conservative radio host Rush Limbaugh, who died in February, were donating in real time and chipping in greater sums whenever Mr. Limbaugh shared more controversial ideas. They are comparing these Twitch streamers that they're referring to, the QAnon conspiracy theorists and the vaccine conspiracy theorists, they are comparing those people and the platform and the audience that they garner to Rush Limbaugh. Let me give you a perspective as to just how blown out of proportion and ridiculous this comparison is. So in December of 2019, Talkers Magazine estimated that Rush Limbaugh's show attracted a cumulative weekly audience of 15.5 million listeners to become the single most listened to radio show in the United States. They are comparing a ragtag group of far-right conspiracy theorists on Twitch to the most listened to propagandist in radio show history, potentially, who had 15.5 million weekly listeners. So let's go ahead and look at the specifics here. At least 20 channels associated with far-right movements have started broadcasting on Twitch since the fall. 20, that's not a lot. According to data compiled by Genevieve O, a live streaming analyst, dozens more have been on the site for longer. Some are associated with QAnon, the false theory that Donald Trump is fighting a cabal of Democratic pedophiles. The channels range from intermittent broadcasters with several hundred viewers to ones that go live nearly every day and attract thousands of viewers. Again, they just compared these people to Rush Limbaugh. They are trying to blow this problem, which is a relatively small problem that's relegated to the corners of Twitch. Okay, these dark corners of Twitch where a couple hundred to maybe a couple thousand people are gathering. And they are comparing that to the largest radio talk show host in his time. That's the comparison they're bringing up. It gets worse. It is difficult to determine how much money individual streamers earn from their Twitch channels, but some of the far-right personalities have made many thousands of dollars. How many thousands? By viewing chat logs of streams that denote when a user has subscribed, Mrs. O has tallied at least $26,000 in subscriptions since December and about $5,000 in bit donations. $26,000. That's like fucking minimum wage. What are we talking about here? They're talking about the most popular radio talk show host in history, Rush Limbaugh, and comparing that to somebody who is making $26,000. $26,000. Okay? That's the comparison that they're trying to make. So, what am I trying to say by all this? Well, the reason why they release these articles, okay, is because we are their competition, and not we as in me and the conspiracy theorists. I don't put out conspiracy theories. I don't tell people not to get the vaccine. I tell people to go get the vaccine. I don't tell people that Donald Trump didn't win the election because he lost the election. But they group all of us together as if we are a singular evil force on these platforms, and the solutions that they propose by writing hit pieces like this is, oh, well, Twitch is obviously going to need to crack down on all of these independent news outlets. Right? They're going to need to crack down on Hassan as well. They're going to need to do a blanket crackdown so that only these corporate narratives make it through. Okay, so the problem that they're talking about here, I'm not trying to minimize that vaccine conspiracy theories are damaging. They can be damaging. Of course they're damaging. There's a large swath of our population that is planning on not getting the vaccine because of misinformation about the vaccine. But some of the biggest perpetrators of that are not on Twitch. It's people on Fox News. It's people like Donald Trump. It's people who have way bigger platforms than somebody who's making 26 grand a year from Twitch and has a couple hundred viewers on Twitch. So they're blowing the problem completely out of proportion so that there can be widespread crackdowns like we've seen on other platforms like YouTube. So they're trying to do to Twitch what they did to YouTube during the adpocalypse and demonetization of all of these channels and de-ranking in the algorithms of all of these channels on YouTube, like my own. And they're trying to take that and apply that same model to Twitch. So, I mean, it's very transparent what they're doing here. They're just nervous because that's their competition. They want less people to have alternative news outlets, right? They want everybody to have to follow the corporate narrative that they're putting out, that CNN's putting out, that Fox News is putting out. And it's just ridiculous, the comparisons that they have to go, the pretzels that they have to twist themselves in, the sensationalization of the actual problem. And it's all for that bottom line. It's all for their own bottom line. You know, the misinformation on these outlets is not nearly the problem that they're saying that it is. And it's definitely not worth it to do a widespread crackdown on all independent news outlets because of a small corner that's off to the side and doesn't have any real impact. So that's what I'm trying to say. This is absolutely ridiculous. Again, the underlying solution to these problems is these types of content outlets, right? These types of sources where independent creators and everybody can go and have their voice heard and participate in political discourse. These places are the modern day town square, okay? They are the modern day public square. And so they should be treated as such. They should be regulated as public utilities. They should not be private corporations making these types of decisions. Private corporations should not get to regulate the boundaries of free speech in a society that supposedly cares about the First Amendment. So regulate these as public utilities, take this power out of the hands of these private corporations, and stop listening to these ridiculous hit pieces by outlets like the New York Times.